Jazz on my mind, coast to coast. Broadcasting live from the Paradise Mall in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm Howard Watkins, and here's your host, Richard Blackwell.
Thank you, Howard, and welcome to Jazz on My Mind, Coast to Coast. I'm Richard Blackwell. This is the show that is dedicated to jazz lovers around the world. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m., we bring you jazz events from Los Angeles to New York, along with performances and jazz chats with the legends and upcoming jazz stars. And get ready, everybody, because tonight we have a power-packed jazz show ready for you. With us this evening is that fantastic jazz vocalist, Kitty Mayo. We're also going to have jazz advocate, Mr. Clarence Sonny Perry, plus from our jazz vault, a chat with the king of Latin jazz, Mr. Poncho Sanchez, and performances by To the Max and Point Blank. But first, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to welcome my co-host, saxophone great, Mr. Larry Unthank, to Jazz on My Mind.
Hi, Richard.
Larry, good to see you today, my friend, tonight.
Yeah.
How's everything going?
Oh, things are going pretty well.
Everything's good?
Yeah, in my recovery, things are so-so.
Well, you're looking
Today
great.
I'm having a good day.
Well, that's good, and you're looking great, Larry. I got to tell you, you're looking great. And in fact, you even sounded great this past Saturday at the tribute to Boise Lowry that happened here in the jazz capital of the world, Wilmington, Delaware. Yeah, you performed masterfully, I'm telling you.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be on the program with many fine Wilmington,
there was a lot.
Philadelphia area musicians
that
participated in the program. And I was just very happy to be able to perform.
Well, you did a great job. You even sang.
I did.
I think that's the first time I've seen you sing in person. I was there. Well, I was the master of ceremonies for the program, but I actually got to hear you sing.
Well, you know, most people don't. Well, I don't know if it's most people, but for the longest time, people did not look at me as a vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
Larry, I think, came up, it was always saxophone. But my act, which is what keeps me going and has sustained me, is a variety of playing saxophone and doing vocalizing on some tunes that I really like, things that I think I do well, and tunes that I think will entertain my audience. So yeah, and I picked an unusual song, which a lot of my fellow musicians did not know. Thank God I had the great Kenny Gates on piano that was able. We went through it pretty quickly, and we were able to pull it off, and I hope you enjoyed it.
I did, and so did the entire audience. It was an absolute wonderful evening of jazz, because we have been talking about that tribute to Boise for many weeks here on Jazz on My Mind. And for those of you who may not know, Robert Boise Lowry is an icon. He was the man here in Wilmington because he taught a lot of great musicians how to perform. You talk about Clifford Brown. He instructed Wilby Fletcher Jr. You spent some time with him. Fareed Majid, Gerald Chavis, Faustina Dixon. The list is endless as to the amount of people.
Well, many of the people that are still playing and many that are not still playing had crossed paths with Boise at some point. And Boise, if he didn't touch you somehow or another, you just missed it. You just dodged the greatest bullet you could have had. One of the things that he instilled in me, which was different from the music, was what I think I mentioned on the show, was that he gave me the confidence, self-confidence to be able to pull certain things off in your head before you actually do it.
Yeah, you did mention that.
That was very important. Boise was the best.
Yeah. Well, my hat goes out to the Council of Jazz Advocates, the Delaware chapter, for bringing together such a tremendous group of outstanding musicians from the Wilmington, Delaware area. I'm telling you, I was honored.
There's over 30 of them.
Yeah, I was honored to be the master of ceremonies for such a marvelous event. Well, I'm glad you're with us tonight.
Yeah.
You heard the intro. We got a power-packed show.
You do.
We've got some stuff coming up for you. But what we're going to do right now, I'd like to show something from our jazz video vault.
Okay.
And it's a performance from a group that you are very familiar with. In fact, you used to perform with this band years ago.
Well, they weren't
To the Max.
They weren't called the Max, To the Max at that time, but yes, I spent a couple of years with a very, very, very high-powered smoking band.
Yeah, they're great.
One of the best bands I've ever worked with in my career.
And they got a lot of great things to say about you as well.
Oh,
You want to
that's
check
nice.
the video out?
Yeah,
Let's check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a trip and get into our video vault. And let's see, check out one of these performances from one of the most versatile bands in the world, To the Max. Now, this video was shot in October 2009 at Basil's Bar and Grill here in Wilmington, Delaware.
Jazz
It
City,
features
USA.
Jazz Capital USA. It features Andre Webster on bass, Jeff Notner on keys, John Coley on drums, and one of the greatest vocalists around, next to Kitty Mayo, Vanessa. And she's singing, I Love Being Here With You. Here is To the Max on Jazz on My Mind.
Yes!
outstanding performance to the max. Like I said, that's from our video vault, recorded in 2009 when Jazz on My Mind, when I first arrived here, and that featured Andre Webster on bass, Jeff Knopner on keys, John Coley on drums, and Vanessa singing I Love Being Here With You. To the max, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up next, we're going to have a jazz chat with legendary female vocalist who is still doing her thing and going strong. But first, let's go to the jazz events on the West Coast for This Week in Jazz. I'm going to give you some of the happening spots on the West Coast, so get your pen and paper ready. Are you ready? Here we go. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with one of my favorite spots for jazz on the West Coast, and it's the World Stage. For more exciting jazz performances all week long, you can check out the World Stage. They're located at 4344 Degnan Street in Los Angeles, my old stomping grounds. For events and information, just call the World Stage at area code 323, and the number is 293-2451. That's the legendary spot for jazz, the World Stage. And if you happen to go by, be sure and tell my good friend Matt Gibson I said hello. Also, there's another spot for jazz in Los Angeles, and it's called Nola's. Now, at Nola's, you get some great jazz with the touch of New Orleans. Nola's is located at 734 East 3rd in LA. For jazz events and information, you can call Nola's at area code 213-680-3003. And when you talk about great spots for jazz in Los Angeles, you can't forget the Catalina Bar and Grill. They've got some great jazz happening 5 days a week. You can catch it right there at the Catalina Bar and Grill. Their address, 6725 Sunset Boulevard in LA. For showtimes and events, just call the Catalina Bar and Grill at area code 323 and the number 466-2210. And for all of you great fans watching in the Midwest, Cleveland, Ohio has an excellent spot for jazz, and it's called Nighttown. They're located at 12387 Cedar Road in Columbus, Ohio. All you have to do is call them at area code 213 and the number 795-0550. And if you're in Chicago looking for a great spot for jazz, you can check out a jam and jazz spot, and it's known as the Green Mill Jazz Lounge. They're located at 4802 North Broadway in Chicago. For jazz information, you can call them at area code 773 and the number 878-5552. And in St. Louis, where a lot of people say is the birthplace of the blues and jazz, there's a great spot called Jazz at the Bistro. They're located at 3536 Washington Avenue in St. Louis, Missouri. For their jazz events, you can call Jazz at the Bistro at, or better yet, just log on to their website, which is jazzatthebistro.com. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, for all jazz events from Los Angeles to New York, all you have to do is log on to our jazz website, which is jazzonmymind.com. Be sure to keep that pen and paper handy. Coming up a little bit later, I'm going to give you all the great jazz spots on the East Coast. That's going to be coming up. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet another very talented young lady who has been entertaining audiences for years, and she's still going strong. From Hockessin, Delaware, let's welcome vocalist Kitty Mayo to Jazz on My Mind. Kitty, welcome to the show. Come on down and chat with us, Larry. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and you're looking so lovely.
Thank you.
Larry, isn't it nice to have a wonderful, gorgeous lady on the show with us?
Yeah, she's drop dead good looking. And she sings that well also.
Yes, she does.
Thank you.
Kitty, when we first met a couple of months ago, you mentioned to me how you are doing some things for jazz in the area now, because when did you start singing? Give us an idea when you're jazz.
Oh my goodness, I come from a very musical family. My family in Chicago had the original School of Music on Jackson and 8th, I think it was. And my uncles played in Philharmonic orchestras. My grandfather played 7 instruments. You went every Sunday to the house, and you did something different, or you didn't get away with it. You know, you had to do that. So I started singing in my mother's club called Angie's Club in Cloverdale, Illinois.
Okay, which is not that far from Chicago.
Right, and then right around Wheaton.
Yeah.
And then when we moved into the city, my father would walk me down. I lived at Roosevelt in California, and we would walk down to Roosevelt and Kedzie, and there were club after club after club.
Wow.
And he'd open the door and say, "Can my daughter sing with you?" And I was real little. And they would say, "Yeah, come on in." And they'd never say, "What key?" Say, "Just start singing." And I'd do it, and these men would just play, and it was wonderful.
Who were some of the people that you listened to when you were coming up that inspired?
Well, I listened to my mom a lot because she was really wonderful. She was really a great musician. But I think I didn't know I was listening this hard to Ella Fitzgerald. And my son, I was doing the scatting thing at a club, and they recorded it. And my son said, "Mom, who is this?" And I said, "Oh, that's Ella." And he said, "No, that's you."
Oh, my goodness.
So I was listening to Ella big time.
Well, we couldn't think of a better person to...
Oh, yeah.
No way. She made a believer out of me.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Last time I saw her.
She was incredible. Last time I saw Ella Fitzgerald, we were at a club in New York, and there hardly any people showed up. It was a snowstorm. And she brought everybody up in front, and she just sang, and it was incredible.
I know it was. That had to be a treat to see Ella. Now, you're doing your thing now. You've still been singing. How long have you been singing now?
Too long to mention, if you don't mind.
But you're still sounding good. You are doing some good things currently. You got a group together.
Yes.
And you guys are performing in the tri-state area.
Right.
In fact, you're going to be at one of the hot spots for jazz here in Wilmington called Nomad.
Right.
When is that going to be happening?
November 26th.
So if you're in the tri-state area, make sure you come by Nomad here in Wilmington, Delaware at 905 North Orange and check Kitty perform.
Yeah, from 9:30 to 12:30, and from 4:30 to 7:30 is the jam if you want to come and jam too.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, you're singing. I mean, you're doing a lot of wonderful things. You have done a lot of wonderful things.
Yeah.
Who's in the band that's performing with you now? What musicians?
I've got a guy playing guitar with me called Chuck Knotts.
Okay.
And he was in Austin for 7 years, and he's only 26 years old, but I gave him 20 charts and said, learn this, and when you come back, we'll rehearse it. And he came the other week with 20 down pat. I never had anybody do that ever. And he knew, and I mixed blues and rock and jazz in it.
Yeah, because you do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and he played it like a jam. And then I've got Al Price on bass and Joe Shields on drums.
Great drummer.
Yeah,
Joe
he's
Shields.
wonderful. Oh, my
If you
goodness.
ever need a saxophonist, you know you got one of the
I
greatest
know.
right there.
Oh, my gosh,
Legendary
yeah.
Larry Young.
He blew me away the other night. I mean, he was playing and singing. I was like, oh, my God, Larry, holy cow.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh, it's wonderful.
Larry, anything you want to say to Kitty?
I am just baffled at how effortlessly she hits those soprano notes right on the nail.
That's why I'm single, Larry. No man likes to hear that single note.
And if anybody knows vocalists, Larry can tell you.
She's a very impressive vocalist that takes control of the room, which is what you need to do in order to get your message across. So I was really, I'd seen her many years ago from afar.
Yeah, well,
And I knew how good she was. I knew she was good then, but you know, we all get some seasoning along the way.
I think the older you get, the better it gets if you keep doing it.
I have not had a chance to hear you live, but I saw your MySpace, I saw your YouTube performances. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And for the viewers out there who want to hear you, because you're going to be coming back on the show, I think in a couple of weeks, and you're going to actually perform with your band. But in the meantime, if some of the audience want to check you out, give your MySpace and your information where they can watch Kitty Mayo.
I think you just go to, there's one site called Alias Lily Brown. I have a thing on cdbaby.com. I have my face, and it's just called Kitty Mayo.
Yeah.
And there's some, on YouTube, there's a video of me with my grandson getting on stage and singing with me. And it's a little hairy, but if you get through it, it's okay.
It's okay. I think that took a lot of courage to bring your grandson.
Oh, all the family sings, and this little boy has got Asperger's syndrome. And he knows my CD backwards and forwards and gets up and sings these and hits those high notes right with me. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I learned that from my grandpa, you know. Yeah, you got to share.
Now, Kitty, ladies and gentlemen, and also to find out more about Kitty Mayo, just Google Kitty Mayo.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And all of her information will come up, and then you can check out this wonderful vocalist. But like I said, she's going to be coming back to Jazz on My Mind in a couple of weeks, and she's going to perform live. You can catch her at the Nomad. What's that date again?
Please do, November 26th.
Yeah, and once again, the Nomad is at 905 North Orange here in Wilmington, Delaware.
Right.
You're going to stick around. You're going to stick around on the show for me.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
Ladies
for having
and gentlemen,
me.
Kitty Mayo.
Thank you.
Jazz on My Mind. Now, ladies and gentlemen, out of our Jazz Vault, I've got a video that is very dear to our heart here at Jazz on My Mind. In fact, it's the second interview that I did on Jazz on My Mind. It's a chat with the king of Latin jazz. It was recorded in November of 2008 at Levels Nightclub in San Pedro, California. Ladies and gentlemen, here's my interview with Mr. Poncho Sanchez on Jazz on My Mind. Welcome to Jazz on My Mind. I'm your host, Richard Blackwell, downtown San Pedro at Levels with the great, the one and only Mr. Poncho Sanchez.
Thank you, Richard.
This is a complete honor, I tell you.
Thank you, man.
You know, I was watching you groove, we were sitting in the audience watching, and you just had the audience rocking. I'll tell you, I have been a fan of yours for many, many, many years. Like I was speaking earlier, you got your start with someone that my dad introduced me to as a jazz musician, was Cal Jader.
Well, that's my man there. Yeah, I worked, let's see, I joined the Cal Jader Band New Year's Eve in 1975.
Wow.
Yeah, our first gig, well, my first gig was at the Coconut Grove at the Ambassador Hotel.
Downtown Los Angeles.
That's right. Yeah, opposite of Carmen McRae's band. So that was heavy. That was heavy. Carmen McRae's band and the Cal Jader Band. That was my first gig with him way back when. I was about 24 years old.
Isn't that something?
Just a kid. And I joined the Jader Band, and I was with him for 7.5 years. I toured all over the world with him.
Right.
Won a Grammy with him in 1980.
Wow.
And we were nominated for a Grammy the following year. And the year after that, he passed away.
Yes, unfortunately. I know that I heard someone mention that was one of your saddest times, because
That's right.
he was like your musical father.
Exactly. You got that right.
Yeah, I know.
I learned a great deal from Cal Jader.
Right.
Just by being around him, and that the man has so much experience being around people and doing all these tunes. He used to take a lot of the jazz standards and play them as mambos or cha-chas.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, he had a special touch for that. You know?
Now, someone else that I know you played with in the past, Mongo Santa Maria.
That's my man. Yeah, Mongo is a very good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, Mongo, I named my oldest son after Mongo.
And your other son is called Tito.
Yeah, after Tito.
I know.
So, you know, I'm a big fan. You know what I mean? I got my sons named after
Isn't that something?
These, the great pioneers of our music.
Now, someone else that I was speaking on that you played with was Willie Bobo.
Oh, yeah.
The legend who passed away back in the 80s.
Way too young, man.
Way too young, and a phenomenal talent as well.
Yeah, Tito was just raw talent, man. Raw soul talent.
Right.
Great singer, great performer, great thing about it, great drummer. He was a good jazz drummer, too.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
He was on some good jazz records, too. Willie was just really a
he was a wonderful soul.
And he could play, man.
And I'm glad that I've got a chance to meet some of the people who have influenced your soul and your musical knowledge. That's a wonderful thing for me. Now, tonight you're playing some of the songs. What is your latest album? Because, I mean, you're cooking it. Why don't you let everyone know?
Well, the latest one is entitled Raise Your Hand.
Yes.
And we did a little mixture of some salsa in there. We invited a singer from San Juan, Puerto Rico, Andy Montañez, to sing with us on the
Great
CD.
job. You did it.
And then also we Booker T and the MGs recorded with us, so we did a little bit of a Latin soul.
So you went back to the 60s.
That's right.
For Booker T and the MGs.
Yeah, Stax Records.
Stax Records.
Out of Memphis, Tennessee.
And there's someone else that was on Stax, Steve Cropper.
Steve Cropper on guitar, and
right.
Eddie Floyd.
Eddie Floyd.
So that the cats on the new record. Also, we use Maysville Parker was on
James Brown's former saxophone.
That's right. Maysville Parker was on the new record too. So we're pretty excited. There's some salsa stuff on there. There's some Latin jazz stuff in there, and there's some Latin soul.
Well, we're not going to keep you long because I really appreciate you extending this time to us.
Thank you.
But you're going to be coming out for another show.
That's right.
And now, can you give us, where can we catch you over the next couple of weeks or whenever? Where are you going to be?
Well, we go in and out of town every other week. It's hard to say, but if you check the Poncho Sanchez website, I'm at ponchosanchez.com.
That's right.
That'll tell you everything.
And that's a beautiful picture there. I mean,
some stuff in there.
I like that. I really like that.
Thank you, Richard, man.
Okay, well, Poncho, I want to thank you for this time. God bless you, your family, and I wish you the best in your future musical endeavors.
Thank you so much.
All right. Great Poncho Sanchez here at Levels, downtown San Pedro. I'm Richard Blackwell, and thank you for watching JazzOnYourMind.com. Ladies and gentlemen, with an outstanding interview from a man, the king of Latin jazz, percussionist, Mr. Poncho Sanchez. I love that man. Now, all you great people, stay tuned. Coming up next, we are going to show you another video performance from a group that is making a name for itself in the world of jazz. In fact, their last CD reached number 25 on the jazz charts. The group Point Blank is coming up next. But first, I want to tell you about a great Caribbean restaurant. If you're ever in the tri-state area and looking for some delicious Caribbean food, you must come and check out the Paradise Palms, located at 901 North King, downtown Wilmington, Delaware. Now, this is where we do our broadcasts each and every Wednesday night, and the food here is oh so great. That's because the head chef, Mr. Wendell, prepares every meal with the love of Jamaica. Dishes like jerk chicken, baked fish, red beans and rice, cabbage, desserts, and so much more. So the next time your taste buds say Caribbean, you gotta come and check out the Paradise Palms. Once again, they're located at 901 North King, downtown Wilmington, Delaware. You can call Mr. Wendell by phone at area code 302, and the number is 377-2528. And be sure to check out their website, which is paradisepalms.com. Now, for all of you jazz heads, are you ready to check out a group whose jazz is so unique and it's a little smooth, a little straight ahead, a little fusion, and a lot of soul? From the CD Point of View, here is Mr. Winston Ferguson on bass, Paul Lee and Jordan Bivens on keyboards, Jerry Blake Jr. on sax, Steve Pratt on guitar, Hank County on drums, and Mr. Gerald Chavis on trumpet. The song is called Along the Journey from the CD Point of View. Here is Point Blank on Jazz on My Mind. Ladies and gentlemen, outstanding music from an outstanding group. They were called Point Blank, and that was entitled Along the Journey from their LP entitled Point of View. Point Blank. Wow, great music. Well, I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, we're going to have a jazz chat with an outstanding man of jazz. In fact, he was just honored by the Jazz Advocates Council of the Delaware chapter. Mr. Clarence Sonny Perry is coming up. But first, let's see what's happening and where the hot spots are for jazz this week on the East Coast and This Week in Jazz. Let's begin with tomorrow night, Thursday night. It's the Thursday night jazz party, and it's happening at Basil Bar and Grill. They're located at 422 Delaware Avenue, right here in the jazz capital of the world, Wilmington, Delaware. Now, the music begins every Thursday night at 8 o'clock and is hosted by yours truly. This week, the jazz party, the music is going to be supplied by Richard Tucker. So that's tomorrow night at Basil Bar and Grill, located inside the Sheraton Hotel at 422 Delaware Avenue, downtown Wilmington, Delaware. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Also, it's jazz at its finest at the Nomad Jazz Bar, located at 905 North Orange in Wilmington, Delaware. And there's always some hot jazz happening at the Nomad. And to find out who's going to be performing this weekend, just call the Nomad at area code 302. And the number is 655-8800. That's the Nomad Jazz Bar, located at 905 North Orange in Wilmington, Delaware. And on each and every Sunday, it's the world famous Jazz Brunch at Warm Daddy's, 1400 Columbus Avenue in Philadelphia. The food at Warm Daddy's is always delicious and the music is out of sight. Call Warm Daddy's at area code 215 and the number 462-2000. And if you want some jazz on a Monday on the radio, you can check out my friend Fawn A. She's on the radio every Monday morning from 2 a.m. until 5 a.m. on WPFW, which is 89.3 FM out of Washington, D.C. The good thing about Fawn A's radio show is that you can listen to Fawn A anywhere in the world by logging on to WPFW.org. And Atlanta, Georgia has a hot spot for jazz, and it's called Cafe 290. Every Sunday, they have a Sunday night all-star jazz jam. For more information, you can call Cafe 290 at area code 404 and the number 256-3942. And let's not forget the Big Apple, New York City. They've got a hot jazz club, and it's called the Town Hall Jazz Club, located at 131 West 3rd in New York. You can reach them at area code 212 and the number 475-8592. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, for jazz events from Los Angeles to New York, just log on to our jazz website, which is jazzonmymind.com. Now, everyone, I'd like to introduce you to a great friend of jazz. He's doing his part to keep jazz alive here in Wilmington, Delaware. And we're about to tell you how he's doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and let's welcome Mr. Sonny Perry to Jazz on My Mind. Sonny, it's good to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
I'm telling you, it's wonderful to have you here. You know, I first met you probably about 2 years ago when I first came here from Los Angeles. Somebody said, Richard, it's Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful summer day. You ought to be down at Perry's Park checking out some jazz. I went down, met you, and checked it out, and I was totally astounded. What a wonderful thing you got going on.
Yeah,
Hold that mic up, Sonny. There you go.
I kind of like being involved in jazz since I don't play anymore. And I always wondered how I could stay involved after having a stroke. I wanted to just be around it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I bought some property and I invited my friends that I started out with before we even could play a gig.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
Millie Cannon, I don't know if you heard of her.
I've heard of you. We've chatted about.
Yeah, she passed away. And she used to come over and bring her following because she was a very popular singer. And she would bring food and everything. And then later on, she got sugar and she passed on.
Wow, sorry to hear that. I heard she was such a wonderful person.
Oh, yeah, and she left her following, and we just kept it going from there.
Yeah. Now, when I said that you're doing what you can to your part in keeping jazz alive, because that is a wonderful thing, having that property that you have and using it to showcase a lot of the local jazz talent. In fact, our good friend Larry Umfank has performed out there many times. What do you think about what Perry's doing, Larry?
I think it's really, really great. Many years ago when I was coming up, there were many places to play in Wilmington. Clubs everywhere, cabarets, so forth and so on. Over the last couple of decades, that has dissipated. And Mr. Perry has been able to revitalize that on Sundays. I thought it was going for 3 years. He told me it was going on for 7 years.
Wow, yeah.
So that's been a long time that he's got a following. I happened to be working. I was working in New York for a good part of that year. And then that summer I came down and was told about Perry's Park. And I went and I ran into a lot of my old friends, a lot of new friends. It's the perfect place on a good Sunday afternoon.
Right.
To listen to some great jazz. Good artists, no fly-by-night artists.
Some strong jazz.
Very strong jazz presence.
All the great local jazz artists and artists from the other areas, Philly and New York, they're coming down to perform in your backyard.
By the way, Will Smith, the actor.
Yeah.
His dad has been
Will
down.
Smith Sr.
Yes.
Yeah. Hold that mic close, because I want the people to hear you.
Yes, and when he came, he bought a couple of sodas. So I took, one of the fellows said, well, that's Will Smith's father. And I grabbed a couple of dollars and told him whenever he came that, it was on the house. So he made a joke out of it. He said, most people charge him more because he is Will Smith's father.
And I got to tell you, Will Smith's dad is a great gentleman. He's been on the show. He's been on my show with Tony Smith. They were talking about their book, The Waymore. So they came on promoting that. So, but it had to be a great honor for you to have the father of such an acting legend.
Sure.
Attend one of your venues.
Sure, and every time he comes, he comes over and he says, "I'm Will Smith's dad."
Now you played for many years. In fact, I think you played the drums.
Yes.
And you, unfortunately, when you took ill, but one thing about what you did, Sonny, you stayed positive and you realized what else you can do to help the music. Since you couldn't play it, I think it's an outstanding thing what you did, and having a venue where these musicians can come and people can watch them every Sunday afternoon.
Right. And I really enjoyed doing it because I'm doing it with guys that I started out with before we could even play anything.
Yeah. And you're full of a lot of history. I mean, Larry, this gentleman, he knows everything that goes on in the way of jazz.
Well, he's been around for quite a while. And on the scene. I've been off the Wilmington scene for quite a few years, different periods of time, but Sonny's always kept up on what's going on. Hence, having Sonny's part, Perry's part.
Yeah.
Perry's part. Yeah, which again is a wonderful thing. It's a place for the younger. We got quite a few younger musicians
coming,
that are coming through, and I'm talking early 20s, early 30s, that need a place to hone their craft and Mr. Perry has provided that place, at least through the summertime.
Yes, because that's when he's
I'm
happening.
told that there may be a deal in the works that Perry's Park will come to Paradise Palms in the future. That's just a rumor.
And that would be a beautiful thing.
And that would be a beautiful thing on Sundays.
Yeah, I would love to come here.
Yeah, I know you would, because I can tell how eager you are to continue to provide a place for these musicians to come and perform.
Right.
Now, this past Saturday, I was the master of ceremonies for the Boise Lowry tribute, and Larry Unthank performed, and the Council of Jazz Advocates presented you with this wonderful plaque. And I'm going to try to show this plaque so that the audience can see what people think of this marvelous, wonderful, generous man. Now, you earned this plaque, whether you know it or not, and I know it came quite a surprise to you when they brought you up on stage with me and presented you with this.
Yeah, it was a surprise, and you know, the way they got me there, they gave me a free ticket.
Yeah.
So
it's a beautiful plaque, and it says, if I can, the Council of Jazz Advocates, Delaware Chapter, honors Clarence Sonny Perry, that's what everybody calls you, for his unselfish contribution towards his continuance of live jazz. And it was presented by the president of the Council of Jazz Advocates, Mr. Harold Burke. Well, I just want to say I appreciate you, and it's been a pleasure coming out to your park, Perry's Park, and watching you, because he enjoys having those musicians. You can see it on his face.
I do.
Well, what I like to do is get you back on the show where we can spend more time and we can talk about some of the history that you know of in jazz that's going on here in this wonderful city of Wilmington, Delaware. Would you come back?
Sure, I would love to come back.
All right, Perry, it's my pleasure to have you on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Clarence Sonny Perry from Perry's Park.
Thank you very much.
Here in Wilmington, Delaware. Great man of jazz, wonderful friend. All right, all you jazz heads, how about some more great jazz? Well, stay with me, because next we're going to go back into our jazz vault with a performance from a group you've seen on our show before, the Alfie Moss Dexter Coates Project. Now, this video was recorded in February 2009 at the Blue Parrot here in Wilmington, Delaware. It features Charles Beasley on bass, Nelson Mayranth on drums, Rick Tate Jr. on an instrument called the Iwi, and Dexter Coates on keyboards. Now, the group is called the Alfie Moss Dexter Coates Project, but in this one, Alfie is not using her beautiful voice. In fact, we've got her wonderful backup musicians performing. The song they're going to play is Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage. Here they are, the Alfie Moss Dexter Coates Project on Jazz on My Mind. Marvelous, talented group of musicians. Dexter Kuntz on keyboards, Nelson Mayranth on drums, my man Charles Beasley on bass, and Mr. Rick Tate Jr. on the E-Wing. They sound great, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Very popular
oh, yeah, always.
Here in the tri-state area and around the world.
Yep.
Alfie Moss, Dexter Kuntz Project. Well, Kitty, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank
You're
you.
going to be coming back in a couple of weeks.
Uh-huh.
You're going to actually do a performance.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Get to hear you
Yeah.
sing.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. Keep your eyes and ears open.
Okay.
Plus, you're going to be at the Nomad.
Yep.
What's that date you're going to be appearing?
November 26th, 905 Orange Street in Wilmington, Delaware.
Come on down and see Kitty.
Come
perform.
see me.
Yeah. And Mr. Perry, want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
I could not think of a man who deserves that award from the Council of Jazz of Advocates other than yourself, sir. Thank you for your contributions and what you're doing for jazz. We can't wait for the summer to come back, and then you open up Perry's Park to all those musicians.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And my main man, Mr. Larry Unthink. Thank you for being on the show. My co-host, you going to come back next week if you feel up to it?
Yes, I will.
All right.
Can't wait.
All right. Speaking of next week, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to join us next week as we will have another great show with another jazz vocalist who's going to be performing. Linda Selena Smalls is going to be on the show next week, plus saxophonist and music historian Mr. Larry Williams, and radio DJ Steve Leach. He's been on the show before from WVUD from right here in Wilmington, Delaware. He's going to return with some more great jazz history. Ladies and gentlemen, also don't forget to log on to our website, which is jazzonmymind.com, for all great jazz events and for more great jazz entertainment. Also, you can like us on Facebook. I want to thank the crew tonight. I want to thank the director, Mr. Bernard Parker, our audio supervisor, Vincent Atkins, and our floor manager, Shell Lynn. On behalf of Kitty Mayo, Sonny Perry, and Larry Unthink, I'm Richard Blackwell, and we want to thank each and every one of you for watching
Jazz on My Mind.